travel and things in association with Rugged Wear, Real People, Real Clothing, Real Solutions presents In Conversation With. I'm your host, David Batsoffen, and today I'm joined by a conscious life coach. That's Louise Diesel. Louise, good morning. Welcome to you.
Good morning, David. Thanks.
It has been a while since we first met, sitting in the back of a vehicle in Pilanesberg.
It has. I wish we were sitting there having this conversation.
Tell me about it. I've just got a new cell phone and I see it can do two-sided video. So it may be an option next time round.
Interesting.
Louise, before we started, I said to you, we have two things in common, one of which you know, and the other which you don't know. Now, the one that you do know is that we both share an interaction with John F. DeMartini. You more so than I, because you've studied under him. And the other one is we were both held at gunpoint. I was held hostage in my own house for about 2 hours by a couple of gentlemen who decided to do some alternative shopping, and I know where that took me. What did it do for you?
Wow, David, I wasn't expecting that as the first question.
Let's jump right in, Louise. You're a life coach. Coach me.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, I'm a student of John DeMartini's, and I was already a student when this happened. We were held up in our home on the 27th of November, 2010, so it was a long time ago. And I had already been trained as a coach and a facilitator of DeMartini's, and I had been trained to look for the blessings in a challenge and to see that no matter what happens in our lives, everything serves in some way, and that we learn and we grow, and there's a balance of challenge and support, pain and pleasure, good and bad in life. And this is just a universal law. If you look at nature, we have summer and winter, life and death. You know, it's happening at every level, all the time. And I was coaching people at the time, and I used to wonder, you know, what if a client came to me and something really bad had happened to them, and I couldn't comprehend that. Could I really help them? And I was quite nervous of that happening. Well, life kind of presented me with something, and we had this event where we were held up, my husband, myself, my mother, our domestic worker at the time. My children were sleeping, and they were not involved in the affair at all. And 5 men came in with huge big guns, I don't know what they're called, and held us up for about an hour and a half, took everything that we owned. It's interesting because I heard myself tell someone the other day, I used the words, they cleaned us out. They literally cleaned our house out. But I think it's interesting that I use that word because I think it cleaned a lot out for me on many levels. And my family were tied up downstairs, and they took me upstairs, so my family didn't know what was happening, and that was quite hard for them. But after an hour and a half, we came downstairs and they tied me up, and by then they'd packed the car and ready to leave. And then they went back upstairs for a minute to where my children were, and I panicked. And I immediately started asking myself, what are the blessings? What is the upside in this? If there's a universal law that life is always working for us in some way, which I believed with every part of my being, I didn't know that I could apply this in a really challenging situation, but I did. And automatically it was my way of coping. And I started looking for what would the benefits be for my children, for my family. And a minute later, these guys came back downstairs. One actually came up to me, whispered in my ear, "I'm so sorry," and they left. And so that was the end of it. And then I really had to start, you know, walking my talk and doing the work. And I did the inner work, and it took some work. It's really not easy when you have a really big challenge that you've gone through, and you know, there's traumatic experiences, and there's all kinds of things and future fears that come up, and you know, you kind of spiral. If you don't know how to deal with it, you can spiral. Fortunately, my husband was also trained in the work, so we were quite good in being able to support each other, and we had a huge circle of friends who think this way. I had a lot of coaches, friend coaches that could help me. Anyway, it took me a few weeks. I did a lot of work, I did a lot of processing, and within a few weeks I'd reframed the entire event and now see it as one of the greatest blessings of my life and one of the greatest challenges of my life equally.
True enough.
That it's both. So it's not a good thing, but it wasn't a bad thing either. It was just quite a big event in my life,
Yeah.
a life-changing event.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry that I threw that at you as the first question, but I think it goes to your credibility as a coach. People now understand that when they come to you with issues and they go, oh, you don't understand what I've been through, you can go, oh, yes, I do. So let's take it from there. So what is I've heard of life coaches before, but what is a conscious life coach? And did you make a conscious decision, or was it something you just woke up one morning and went, oh, this sounds like a good idea, let me try this for a while?
Yeah, so I didn't intend to be a life coach. I, as a little girl, wanted to be a teacher. I also always wanted to help people and take away their suffering. I cared very deeply. I always have cared very deeply when I see people suffering. And as a young girl, didn't know how to help people around me to take away that suffering. So I always had that desire. I also had a desire to take away my own and to deal with my own challenges. And that's where I started to kind of look for a bigger intelligence, a more loving intelligence, God, religion, whatever you want to call it. I became more conscious in what was happening around me, with people, with life, and what does that mean? So that was how I was formed as a young girl. This was just of my own, upbringing. This wasn't an influence from my parents much. I wanted to be a teacher. My dad discouraged me from being a teacher. I ended up going into business, which I'm very grateful for. My husband and I are in business together, which has given me the freedom to, at that stage, give me the freedom to do the things that I wanted to do. And I started to do a whole lot of courses and went on a kind of inner journey. One of the other greatest blessings of my life was one of my greatest challenges was when I was told I would never be able to have children. And all I ever wanted to do as a young girl was be a wife and a mother and have a family. And so I started digging deeply, and intuitively I knew that there was some inner work that I needed to do. And, what happens when you have a design for life and now your plan is not working? And so I had to learn to deal with that. How do I learn to love what is? Because all I want is children, and they tell me I can't have children. And so that led me on a different journey. I now have 3 amazing children. So that
3 amazing mini adults, let alone children.
Yeah, let's say that's true. They'll always be my babies.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And so I was doing courses for myself, really. And I did one that just changed my life. And that one was the breakthrough experience with John Demartini. And I knew that this was something that had a lot of substance that I could use to help people. It changed my life in such profound ways in the next few weeks after doing that course. And I knew this is the one of the tools. It's not the only one anymore. I mean, that's been 16 years I've been doing that work, and I have evolved and learned from all kinds of teachers and gurus. I never went and did life coaching to be able to coach people. I've always been on a journey for myself first. How do I empower myself? How do I deal with my own issues, my own traumas? I'm a human person. I'm a human being with issues. I haven't not mastered my life. I may just be ahead of some people, on the curve. So when clients come to me, I've usually overcome certain things, and I know how to apply that to help other clients.
Right.
And then the term conscious life coach just became something that felt right to me, because life coach in and of itself, people have so many ideas of what that means. And for me, it's not like, you want to lose 10 kilos and let me help you, get goals towards, what do you do weekly and how often do you go to the gym and what do you eat? That's not the kind of coaching that I do. The coaching that I do involves counseling and coaching and going deep within to transform whatever is keeping people back and stuck from living a life that they love. So it's kind of my own made up name. We could talk about it forever, but I hope that makes enough sense.
It's fair enough. And I think this slide that I've just put up, I take it it's a quote of yours. Our real contribution to the world is who we are on the inside, not what we do on the outside. For everything we do stems from the core of who we are. Every day we affect other people by the energy we radiate. And we don't even know that, Louise. There's often a time you'll do something or say something, and then somebody will just go, thank you, I needed that. And it comes from within. You were talking about being intuitive. And I think some people are. And they are the ones that are able to reach out without looking for any sort of gain for themselves. It's not a case of, oh, now I've helped you, so buy me a coffee type of thing. It's just a case, I'm glad I was able to help. But with that in mind, is what are we as humans really looking for? Is there is that old expression, he who dies with the most toys wins. And is that what it is? Is it a struggle for material wealth so that we've got the biggest house and the biggest cars and the biggest cameras and the most books and that type of thing? Or is it he who dies with the most toys having sorted themselves out, having loved, having been in relationships, having given and received? Is that what the end goal is? Or do we just shuffle on and shuffle off, as Shakespeare said? And I'm paraphrasing him. He said it better than I did.
I definitely don't think it's he who has the most toys in terms of a material point of view, although there's nothing wrong with wanting things and valuing material things. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that we start out thinking that when we have certain things, whatever it is, a car, a house, a body, a marriage, kids, whatever it is that we think is important, certain toys, that then we will be whole, and then we will be fulfilled, and then it will be enough. And I think as we get some of the wisdom of the ages, we realize that that's not what fills us up. It may do so temporarily, but then we move the goalposts. And I think what we're really looking for deep down is a wholeness within, a way to feel moments of fulfillment within. And that is about training ourselves to see things differently and to see that we are enough, and to look and count our blessings and see what is beautiful in our lives. There's always going to be more. We're designed to want more. We're designed to grow. So, and it's our desires, it's our most authentic desires that will push us to grow. So there's always going to be some discontent. And that's the paradox of life. We're always going to play with the paradox. This is enough and I want more. And the key is to really know who we are and what is most meaningful to us. So we all have a different set of priorities or values. And the thing that's most meaningful is really our purpose. For me, it's always been family and personal and spiritual development. So I realized a couple of years ago that they're one and the same for me. It's about empowering families.
Right.
It's been about empowering for me. It's been about empowering myself as a daughter and a wife and a mother. And now it's spread into empowering families, which impact their children. And that has a ripple effect. So that's my highest priority. And when I'm doing things that are aligned with that, I get so much fulfillment. And like you say, if I share something, if I smile at someone, or I share something that might give them perspective and they go, wow, I never thought of it that way, that brings me so much fulfillment. And fulfillment is different to happiness. That's something that drives me to do more of that, to be more. And we all have that, and it's different for different people. You don't need to be a coach, you don't need to be inspiring, whatever is most meaningful, because we need everybody to serve in different ways. So it's about knowing who you are and then setting goals and being true to who you are. And by doing that, we all make a difference. By being that quote that we just looked at, we radiate and we influence people that way, and we love and receive love in doing so.
How do you decompress? Because it sounds like your days are very busy and filled with a variety of different wonderful experiences, some good, maybe some bad. But when it comes time for Louise to switch off and maybe step away from family, where do you go? What do you do?
So I'm not always good at that.
Somehow I didn't think so.
Yeah, and it's really important. Coaches need coaching too.
Yeah.
And healers need healing too. And it's so important that whoever we are, that we make time for others and ourselves. We need that balance. So for me, one of my things is meditation and being able to switch off and go within. And that's a way that I am more conscious. I know how to open my heart. And in that space, my body rewires and refuels, and I get perspective. My favorite thing is a walking meditation, which is something I learned from a teacher called Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love it because it's outdoors. I go and do it in beautiful gardens. There's music, and I'm focusing on how I want to feel. I'm actually practicing. It's a process where you practice feeling what you want to feel. And,
Right.
whatever we practice, we get good at. And we're so good at practicing feeling stressed and anxious. It's it's innate in all of us. It's what's allowed the human species to survive. We've got to look at what could go wrong so we can plan for it. So we're good at feeling stressed, but feeling present, feeling grateful, feeling still takes practice, and it's a skill. And I'm getting better and better at it. And so that's one of my go-tos. A new thing that I've discovered a year ago is this new sport called paddle, which my husband and I love. And
I've heard about it, because in America it's called pickleball, I think.
It's not the same sport.
Isn't
It's
it?
two different sports.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So they're as popular,
Yeah.
but they're not the same sport.
Okay.
And so anyway, I realized that the exercise is really good for me. It's social, it's outdoors, I'm connecting. I love it because I can do it with my husband. And I think it's just about finding things that we find fun. For me, getting together with friends, having a cup of coffee, having a conversation where I'm not necessarily coaching, but old friends just connecting and having a chat fills me up. Going away, travel, is another one that we have in common, is, just going away and being in nature.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I know work for me. But you can't always go away. You can't always go and play a game of paddle, because that's, requires 4 people. So for me, then I take time, and meditation is really my thing, meditation and music. And sometimes I will, when I know that I need it, I will give myself, I'll book out in my diary 2 weeks in advance or whatever, and I'll book out 2-3 hours in the mornings, and I'll immerse myself for 7 days or 10 days. I'll really give myself that space. In fact, in May, I've booked out an entire week, 7 full days, and I've got friends that'll be joining me, and we will be doing meditation and conversations and connection, because we need it. I know that if I want to keep giving, I need to refuel. It's one of the biggest things that I'm teaching my clients, that my own clients struggle with as well, is taking time for ourselves.
It's like a pit stop in a Formula One race. If you're rushing around the track, and if you don't take time for the pit stop, you're going to run out of fuel, the tire's going to burst, and then you're going to end up out of the race altogether. But what you've just said segues sort of nicely into the next question, is how do we get away from the mass of social media that invades us on a daily basis? The majority of it being negative, and all it takes is one word, one sentence, to ruin a day for you, because all of a sudden there's been another shooting in America. Donald Trump is running for something. We've got another corrupt politician in South Africa. Should it all affect us, or should we be able to just go, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to turn off the Twitter and the Instagram and the Facebook. I've taken Facebook off my phone so that I'm not on it constantly, because that's our go-to nowadays. You sit at coffee alone and you're scrolling. What's it called? The death scroll. While you look at stupid people making you angry because they're saying stupid things.
I think that everything has a place. Social media, I use social media to connect with people, and I get clients and hopefully have some kind of impact through social media. So it has a place, but I think it's really important that we decide what is important for each of us, and how informed do we need to be, and how informed are we really from social media. And we really do need to set boundaries for ourselves about what works and what doesn't work. And it's easy. At the end of the day, you can sit down and go, how do I feel? What did I do today? What worked? What didn't work? And then be honest with ourselves. Scrolling through social media for hours is mindless for most people, and not fulfilling for most people. A couple of years ago, when COVID hit, I just started being very brutal with my social media, and anything that was not inspiring, I either unfollowed or I blocked. So I only have certain groups. When I go on, it's very inspiring, and it's learning. I use it for learning and connecting with people. Wonderful. So it's important that we use that in a way that serves us. Also, I must say that we are addicted to a certain way of feeling and being. Like I said, we've practiced feeling stressed and anxious for so many years. It is innate in us as human beings. It's our survival mechanism. So we're really good at it. But what that means is we've become addicted to the stress chemicals, the chemicals that our body releases when we're stressed. And so it's important to understand this, because if you then kind of are chilled for a few days and you're used to being stressed at 8 o'clock because you're used to driving in the traffic and somebody pulls in front of you and you get angry. Now if you're chilled and you don't have that, you actually are going to look for a reason to get angry or get stressed, so that your body can release those same chemicals so that you can get your fix. And so we must be very wary of looking for anything on the outside to reaffirm our addiction to feeling a certain way. And for some of us, it's angry. For some of us, it's hopeless, and feeling despair. For some of us, it's stress and anxiety. Whatever it is, we all have a go-to that we like to feel and we're good at feeling. And it's really important that we are aware of that and go, oh, there we go again. Now I'm using politics. Oh, now I'm using the weather. Oh, now I'm using corruption to feel the way that I like to feel, that I'm addicted to, and to become aware of that. And that's where conscious life coaching comes in, is to become conscious of the patterns that don't serve you, and how do we practice something new. And that's where practicing and reconditioning and rewiring your brain and body to feel a different way. And if that means cutting out social media for a while, then you need to do that. And what helps you think and feel a different way, and then you can come back and be informed, but very consciously.
There is a book that is one of my go-to books, aside from Dr. J and a variety of the Louise Hay books, The Artist's Way. And there's one line in that book that I, in fact, have tattooed on my arm. And it says, leap and the net will appear. Now, that doesn't mean jump out of an airplane without a parachute. It just goes, sometimes open yourself to the universe and it will provide. Maybe not immediately, maybe not exactly what you want. You may not get the roles, but you will get a Volkswagen. So you can deal with that type of thing. But I think a lot of people, and you've just touched on that, Louise, where people are so insular and they're looking for the negative rather than the positive, that when the positive does come along, they're not accepting of it, because they're going, hang on a second, if this is a positive, there has to be a negative following at the end of the day. So I'll just stay in the negativity and be miserable and try and make everybody around me miserable, and then I'll be happy because everybody's miserable.
Yeah, and the truth is that, that's not what fulfillment is. And that's where it comes back to knowing who you are and what do you want to dedicate your life to. And when you're willing to embrace both sides, the pain and the pleasure, the positive and the negative, because you have to ask yourself at the end of your life, what do you want to say more than anything? I tried my best to be grateful, or I tried my best to be the best, wife and mother that I could be, or I tried my best to inspire people, or to build a business that impacts people. Whatever it is, there's no good or bad, there's no right or wrong. It's just what is true for you. And to remember that. So, there's a teacher, Muji, I'm sure you know Muji. He gave a beautiful example of when you're sitting in a car and you're watching the road ahead and it starts raining, and you put the windscreen wipers on, and then you get distracted by the windscreen wipers. And that could be all the challenges that are happening, load shedding and, and then financial issues and whatever it is. And we, as long as we're focusing on the windscreen wipers, we're not focusing on the road ahead. And when you see past the windscreen wipers and you just focus on the road, that can still be going on. And that's what we need to train ourselves to do, is not pretend it's not there, and not just think positive, but think balanced. That, if you're going to focus on what's not working, because it's there, don't stick your head in the sand, but balance it with what is working. And when you can see both, just stay focused on the road ahead. And I think that's wisdom, is not pretending that you don't have challenges, but to see that where do you have the balance of support. And the challenges always help us grow in some way, serve us in some way, as we've both shared. So it's about knowing how to look for that, ask quality questions, and give yourself quality answers.
If you look back at Louise at 17, 18 in matric, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell 18-year-old Louise now? And did 18-year-old Louise, aside from the family and the children, because you've shared that with us, did you have anything else planned, or was this road ahead? Did it just open and you were able to see past the windscreen wipers?
Oh no, I was such a people pleaser. Wanted to make everybody happy, which is impossible,
Yeah.
and didn't feel like I was enough, which is what led me on the journey to where I am. Why I needed to do all these courses and so much deep inner work. So I'm grateful now, but I didn't allow myself to be myself. I wanted to say I didn't know who I was. But deep down, we all know who we are. It's the fears and our subordinations to other people and thinking how we should be, thinking we're not enough, and thinking that we should be more like, everybody else, except being true to ourselves. And so I think the message would be that I would tell myself that I'm enough and it's okay to be me. In fact, the more I can be me, the more magnetic and empowered I will be, and the more I can make a difference in this world in my own unique way, as everybody else does.
Yeah.
That I'm not better or worse than everybody, but that I am worthy and perfect just the way I am.
You see, everybody is unique. And this is what we don't agree on. It's taken me almost 70 years to come to terms with who I am and what I look like, type of thing. And it was always a battle for me until, I don't know, I had a moment some months ago and I just went, you know what? This is me. I can deal with it. And if others can't, so be it. That's just the way it is. You get to a point in your life where you've got less years ahead than you've got behind. And then you can do like that lady in the poem. You can go and wear purple and sit on the side of the road and spit and chew gum and do all of that type of thing.
Exactly.
Before we go on, do you actively look for clients, or do clients find you?
Yeah, I'm in a very unique position. I'm very blessed that I do coaching because I love it. And I don't have to earn money from coaching to make a living, although I do charge, because I know my value, and I know that clients get value when they are committed, and in paying for coaching is part of the process of committing to themselves and valuing the service. So I'm very blessed that way. I get clients that come to me, and it's interesting, when I start to feel overwhelmed, there's fewer clients. And then when I'm ready and I've got some space, the clients come in, and I have lots of clients that I've dealt with over the years, that for many years we have some breaks and then they come back. So I'm very blessed that it just kind of, they come to me and they find me, and it's usually clients that are resonating with where I'm at and what I've learned. They come to me usually with something I've recently dealt with in the last couple of years.
Okay.
It's mind-blowing how that works.
We're about to be cut off by Zoom. Is there a website that people can go to see what you're all about and what you offer and how you offer it?
Yes, my website is louisediesel.com.
It's as simple as that. Louise, it's been wonderful chatting to you. I hope people get something out of this, that they can go off into their day after having watched this and go, oh, okay, let me try that, even if it's just for today. And then tomorrow I'll go back to the social media and all the madness of that.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for being in conversation with. My guest today is a conscious life coach. She is Louise Diesel, and you can find her at louisediesel.com. Louise, once again, thank you very much for being a guest with me this morning.
Thank you so much, David.